Deep within the lush, tropical South American landscape lies one of the Earth's largest and most biodiverse tropical rainforests, the Amazon. Though it only covers 4% of the planet, it is home to 1/3 of all plant and animal species. For thousands of years, indigenous people have lived in harmony with this vibrant ecosystem. And if you listen closely, you'll hear a rhythmic beat. It's the sound of the heart of our planet, pumping moisture and heat into our atmosphere, creating ecological balance. Without the Amazon rainforest, life as we know it would change forever.
In March of 1996, the president of Brazil was speaking at Stanford. He was accompanied by a plane full of journalists. I grabbed my bullhorn and climbed up onto this ledge. To my surprise, he stopped and actually listened for maybe about 10 seconds, but just long enough for the entire wall of cameras that were there to capture the moment of me confronting the president of Brazil. And then he got in his limousine and he left me there with all of these journalists who came up to me and asked, what was this about? And I took a deep breath and I said, Amazon Watch. This is about the protection of the Amazon rainforest. And that was the beginning of Amazon Watch. When Amazon Watch was celebrating our 15th anniversary, Berito was in the US and we had him as our featured guest for our celebration. Berito said, let me tell the story. Atosa thinks she started Amazon Watch, but really she didn't. Amazon Watch grew out of a call by the elders and the medicine people from the Uwa Nation, and that Atosa, just merely heard the call. And that was the campaign that taught us everything we now know how to do, which is be good allies to indigenous peoples.
Over the past 25 years, Amazon Watch has stood side by side with indigenous peoples, defending indigenous rights, amplifying indigenous voices, supporting indigenous-led solutions, demanding corporate accountability, and fighting for climate justice.
Building on 25 years of work to protect and defend the Amazon, we recommit to work in solidarity with indigenous peoples and a growing global movement to protect the Amazon.
Amazon Watch began standing in solidarity with the Uwa people in 1996 as they defended their territory from oil extraction. In their words, oil is the blood of Mother Earth. The decades-long struggle with the Occidental Oil Company, known as Oxy, began in Colombia with the Uwa peoples, but the Achua peoples in Peru would have to resist them as well.
Oxy had spilled 9 billion barrels of toxic waste in the Amazon.
After losing her 11-year-old son due to contaminated drinking water, Aldofino Garcia Sande took action to stop the death of other children in her community. Research confirmed dangerous levels of lead and cadmium in the Achua children's blood. In 2015, with the support of Amazon Watch, the Achua people successfully reached a settlement against Oxy, sending a powerful message to the fossil fuel industry. Chevron, while operating as Texaco, admitted to dumping at least 16 billion gallons of toxic waste into the northern Ecuadorian Amazon between 1964 and 1992 as a cost-saving measure.
Estamos pidiendo que Texaco tiene que remediar y restaurar nuestra vida, tiene que dejar sano.
But in 2011, indigenous peoples and campesino communities won the largest environmental judgments in history against the company. Chevron has yet to clean up the pollution and has spent billions targeting its victims and their allies, which includes Amazon Watch, making this global campaign emblematic in the fight for climate justice.
You cannot justify human rights abuses with economical arguments. We are also human beings just as anyone else, and we have the same rights as anyone else to choose our way of life and to have that choice respected.
In the Ecuadorian Amazon, the Quechua people of Soriacu have a visionary life plan called Kasak Sacha, the living forest. It is a comprehensive vision for harmonious living with the natural world, based upon the practices passed down by their ancestors.
esta selva viviente sea reconocida a nivel mundial. La selva viva no tiene que ver solamente con los animales o con la biodiversidad o con los ecosistemas, sino con aquellos seres encargados de proteger aquellos ecosistemas, aquellos guardianes sensibles que están desapareciendo poco a poco con toda una intromisión humana en la cual nosotros no queremos que eso suceda.
Amazon Watch assisted Sariaku leaders with transporting a 30-foot-long hand-carved canoe to the Parisian waters at the 2015 UN Climate Conference. These leaders wanted to impress upon world leaders that indigenous voices are essential to any discussion on climate change. Bearing witness to the devastation wrought by the construction of the Belo Monte Dam in 2011, Amazon Watch vowed to make sure it was the last mega dam ever built in the Amazon. So, in 2014, when the Tapajos hydroelectric dam was being proposed, Amazon Watch rallied alongside the Munduruku to prevent the flooding of their land and stop the building of the dam, which would have caused over 10,000 people to lose critical resources, as well as their sacred sites. In 2019, the Amazon basin was set ablaze, shocking the world and putting the Bolsonaro administration under international scrutiny. When the Association of Brazil's Indigenous Peoples Delegation, the APIB, traveled to Europe, Amazon Watch helped them expose the true culprits behind the Amazon fires and rally international support in defense of the basin.
O mundo não pode fechar os olhos para isso. O movimento indígena no Brasil está agora organizando uma campanha para pedir os embargos, as sanções aos produtos que são produzidos pelo agronegócio em áreas de conflitos.
There are parts of the Amazon rainforest, including the southern part of the rainforest in Brazil, that have already begun to transition from rainforest to savanna.
Amazon Watch is part of a global call to permanently protect 80% of the Amazon rainforest by 2025.
Global climate scientists who have been working in the Amazon for decades now say that the tipping point of ecological collapse is not near, it's here. In 2020 alone, the Amazon rainforest lost nearly 2.3 million hectares of primary forest.
I remember my grandfather saying once that it is from the Amazon that the breath of the world comes, because without the Amazon, the world would not breathe.
We saw the Brazilian government encourage deforestation, encourage forest fires, which are not wildfires. They are intentional burns.
Some of the world's financial institutions, such as BlackRock, are complicit in the death threats and assassinations of Earth defenders. In 2019 alone, the lives of more than 33 environmental and human rights defenders, including indigenous leaders on the front lines, were lost. After more than a year of pressure from indigenous leaders, climate activists, and legislators, BlackRock CEO Larry Fink took a first step towards change by announcing unprecedented policies that address climate change and sustainability. Amazon Watch has always served as a bridge for international artists as partners in the movement to defend the Amazon.
Just in the last few years, we've been able to expand because of your growing support. We now have field team members in all the countries where we primarily work, in Ecuador, in Peru, in Brazil. We've expanded our teams to do that international campaigning, to hold those drivers of destruction accountable, the governments, the corporations, the banks. With growing resources, we've also been able to grow our solidarity grant making.
Amazon Watch mobilizes millions through its Amazon Defenders Fund. In recent years, it has quadrupled its solidarity funding distributing nearly 1/3 of the budget directly into the hands of indigenous peoples.
We are directly supporting women defenders. We are directly supporting indigenous nationalities. We also support indigenous self-determination and self-governance.
By providing solar power to indigenous territories, Amazon Watch has improved the security of neighboring villages through more effective monitoring systems. In 2021, indigenous peoples secured a major win in the struggle to keep it in the ground. European banks responsible for financing the trade of billions of dollars in Amazon oil to the U.S. announced new commitments to exclude financing for extractive activities. Following indigenous-led solutions is the most effective path to saving the Amazon. They've been successfully protecting their territories for thousands of years. It's only been in the last 50 to 75 years that nearly 17% of the Amazon has been destroyed.
There is a growing and unified movement to protect and defend the Amazon and our climate in solidarity with indigenous peoples. This is a turning point for the future of the Amazon.
Ellos saben nuestra vivencia. Es bien importante la ayuda que nos hacen en nuestras luchas, en nuestras movilizaciones. Cuando nosotros tenemos que luchar, Amazon Watch ha estado con nosotros. Y por esa razón nosotros confiamos en Amazon Watch.
Because of you, today, 25 years later, Amazon Watch stands with a much larger bullhorn than Atosa began with in 1996.
The next 4 years in particular are critical for averting the tipping point of the Amazon, for shifting the climate crisis to climate justice. We are on the path of averting the tipping point, of protecting the Amazon, of amplifying indigenous peoples' rights, resistance, solutions, of defending the defenders, of holding those corporations, those governments, those financial actors, those banks accountable. We are on the path of amplifying the voices and solutions of indigenous peoples. That is our path. That is our mission.
Usted es responsable de su vida, de la vida de las futuras generaciones.
Now is the time to take a serious look at our response to all these crises, because our response will determine our future.
This may be our last chance, and we need you to join us.
This is Martin Sheen. Thank you for supporting Amazon Watch. We are deeply grateful.